Hi everyone, welcome to this video by DataSense. In this video, I'm going to walk you through two important concepts. That first is how to create a GitHub repository, and the second is how to push your code from a local machine like your laptop or a computer to a GitHub server. Now this topic is pretty easy, but a lot of candidates get confused because they are not clear of the whole concept of Git and how does it work and how do you connect those links to GitHub server. So don't worry, if you are a candidate who gets confused while working with Git and GitHub, that how to push changes from your local computer to GitHub, or you are a candidate who is just starting, please watch this video till the end, and I ensure you that by the end of this video, you will have complete hands-on and understanding of how Git and GitHub works. So without wasting much time, let's get started. I have split this whole tutorial in 9 steps, in 9 easy steps. So the first step is how you create a GitHub account and how do you sign up. So let's move towards it. So to get started, the step 1 is to sign up to the GitHub. Now, so what will we do? We'll simply go to the website github.com. and you will see an interface like that, and you can scroll down to see all the features which this website provides. Our main objective is to sign up. So what will I do? I'll click on sign up. In the sign up, you will see multiple options. I will simply sign up through my email. So what will I do? I'll say 0904@gmail.com, and here I will enter my password. Then I will enter my username, and then maybe I will enter this, and now after this I will send this. Now it will give me a puzzle to solve, so I'll solve the puzzle. Now what I have to move this chair in this particular direction, so I think this is it. Now I'll submit it. After this, it will send you an OTP on your email, so you simply need to go to your registered email, and there you will see an OTP. So the OTP that I have is, I'll just type it down. And now you have registered. So simply my registration has been done. I just need to simply sign in now. I will say 0904@gmail.com, and I will try to log in. So with this, you will simply enter the GitHub. Now this is your first interface of how your GitHub looks like. I will walk you through this dashboard. It contains a lot of things, but this is how you should sign up for your GitHub. So this was a step 1. Now let's move ahead, try to understand what all things are there. So if you look at GitHub, it has a very interactive dashboard. It contains a lot of features which we don't need to go right now because GitHub is a very advanced tool. You don't need to know everything right now, but our objective of this video is to create a repository, right? So if you see from here, you can see all the setups which you can do, which will be going through this video as well. My objective is to create my repository. So if you see at the left hand side, you have an option to create a repository. Now what is repository? Repository is like a folder which contains your code of a project, of any assignment, whatever, right? So just like you create a folder on your desktop, similarly it is a repository on GitHub. So I will just need to give a name to my repository. So I will say my first repo. Okay. After that, I can write a description here. This is my first GitHub repository. Okay, so you will do this. Now there are two options. Either you can make it public, which everyone can access. You can make it private. So I'm keeping it public. If you want to have a repository which, for example, in your workplace, or you want to contain some of your secret project, right? Then you can keep it private, and you can share with only those people whom you want to. Now after this, there's an option of readme file. You can ignore all these for now. These will be used when you study Git in more detail, but I think we are done for now. You simply create repository, and now your GitHub repository will be created, and you'll get an interface like this. Now what is important to us here is that this link is something very important, because this is the unique link to my GitHub repository. You can also find it here, and you can also find it here. And Now what we'll be doing, we'll be creating a project on our system, local system like my laptop, and we'll try to push those changes directly through my computer terminal to here rather than coming and uploading here. So if you see, you can simply create a file or upload file here as well directly. But I don't want to do that because as a developer, you will need to push lot of files together and you cannot manually upload hundreds of files here. So the better way is to simply use any editor like VS Code or PyCharm and push codes through them. So we are going to study that part. So this was your first part where we created a GitHub repository. Keep it with yourself, and this link is very important which we will be using. So let's move to the next part. Try to understand what is the concept of Git. So let us start with the main question. What is Git? Lot of you would be having this question in mind, that what is Git, what is GitHub, what is a repository, why do we need all these, right? Why can't we simply take our files, upload on a Google Drive and share with people? So let's try to break this concept of Git and why is it very, 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 very important. Okay, so let's try to understand that. The first step definition of Git is that Git is world's most popular version control system. Now you will still be having doubt that, hey man, what are you talking about? What is this version control system, right? So let's try to understand the definition of version control system. So now version control system is a system that tracks changes to the files over the time, allowing multiple people to collaborate and revert to previous. So this is the official definition. Now I'm not reading it further, but let's try to read the first two lines. It's the system that tracks changes to the file over time, right? This is the key thing. That is what is a version control system. Now think like this. You're working on a project. You start today. So initially the folder will be empty. Tomorrow you will add some files to that. Let's say you created a code, you created a main.py or some file you created. You wrote some code. 10 days later, you saw that, oh no, my code was something incorrect. I have to make some changes, right? So you will make some changes 10 days down the line. Now think of a project which goes for a year. Over the year, you will make multiple changes every day, every week. Like you don't even know how many times you're going to make those changes. And in future, if you want to refer back, come back to see that what my project looked like at that particular time, right? There, this concept of version control system is used. So unlike your traditional folder system where you store files by the name of file_v1, file_v2, right? Those are very traditional methods. I mean, it's not a very efficient method to work in a group of developers, to work in a group of team, let's say 500, 600, right? Where you have to constantly, everyone is changing, everyone is working on their stuff and they're sharing things to each other. So that is where a version control system is used, and Git is one of the most popular version control system or a software that is used. I think more than the 95% of the work across the world is done through Git. So this is the standard definition. Now we'll try to understand it through a very basic example. Okay, so let's move towards that. Let us say you are starting a new project today. You are trying to create a new website today. As you see here, today is day one of that website. And if you see, the website is totally empty. Now, what will I do? I'll create a checkpoint today that, okay, on the day one, my project looked like this. It was totally empty. There was nothing in it. Okay. Now moving ahead, I worked on the project for some days. I made some changes and I brought a new feature. I just added a headline to that, right? So what will I do? On the day one, my project was empty. On the day two, I made some changes, right? And I need to checkpoint that, right? That, okay, on day two, I made some changes. So what will I do? I'll make a checkpoint here that, okay, I added a heading. So the first checkpoint was I initialized the project where project was empty. My second checkpoint is I added a heading. Now I start working on it more and more. And let's say I added a search bar to my website. So what will I do? I will simply go and log that information that, okay, I made a search bar as well. So I will create another checkpoint here that I added a search bar. So my project looks like this. Over the time, I initialized my project on day one. I added a heading on day two. I added a search bar on day three. Okay, now let's move ahead. I added a border line here. So I added a line here. That checkpoint also I gave. Then I added some tables, code, graphics, different things. Okay, and I added a body. After that, I made some more. Let's say I made some color changes. From white to I made it yellow. I want to track that as well. So I added a theme to the website. If you see now, over the time, I have created different checkpoints. Now, right now, the red point indicates that my project currently is at this check pointer, which is the most recent pointer. But if I want to go back to any other previous pointer, I can easily go back, right? I can simply go from add theme to add search bar, right? So let me tell you, all these checkpoints which we are creating, they will have an ID, which we will see in the video ahead. And you can basically go to that time and see that how your project looked like. You can discuss among the teams and like a lot of things that you can do. So this is the basic idea of using Git, that what is Git. Now these different points, as I mentioned, are also called as commits. In the language of Git and GitHub, we call them commits. So instead of checkpoint, the commit means different checkpoints that you have done over the time. Okay, so this is the concept. Git is a software which is used to track changes to your folder or file system. Commit is different checkpoints that you do on the project over the time. Now let me tell you also one more thing, that Git and GitHub are two different things. Now you might be very surprised that why is he saying that. So although they sound similar, but Git is a different company, GitHub is a different company. So Git, as I mentioned, is a version control software that runs on your local machine. Remember, Git is a software that runs on your computer. It does not run online. Okay, so and you don't need to register for an account. It's simply a software which you can download on your laptop, on a computer, anywhere, and you can add things to your folder. I will show you with an example. Now, GitHub is a service. You can say it's a place which host these GitHub repositories. Okay, so what you do, you work on your folders or you work on your projects on your computer, that is using Git. But GitHub is a place where you store these projects so that you can go and refer to them later in future, so that everyone in the community, if you want to share, people can access it, right? So this is the main difference, that Git is a software that is used to create those checkpoints which I mentioned, or commits, and GitHub is a place where you store these repositories. Okay, so that is the key difference. So far in the video, we have discussed how to sign up on GitHub, what is a repository. We little bit saw what a GitHub, that how does the UI look like and all that, right? Now comes the concept that I have a folder or I have a project on my local system and I want to push it to GitHub. Now throughout the video, you will hear me saying two words, remote and local. So what is the difference between remote and local? It's very simple. Local means your computer. So whatever things you're doing on your computer, this is called local. Okay, it could be your computer, laptop, or whatever. So what is your device is called local. And remote means something which is present at a remote location. That is a URL and that is a website. So it means remote means GitHub. So whenever I mention remote, it means GitHub, and whenever I see local, it means your computer. So when I say I have to push my code from local to GitHub, it means I have to push my code changes from my computer to GitHub website. So this is what you need to understand. Now we are going to see the practical implementation, that how can you create a project on VS Code, how you can create a repository inside it, and how you can push those changes to GitHub. So let's start with that. So now I am on my VS Code. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new project, a new folder. I'll create a very basic text file project, and we will see how we can push those changes to GitHub, and we can see how we can track different versions. So first of all, what do I need to do? I simply need to go to terminal. I'll create this folder. So what will I do? I'll go to my desktop and I'll create a folder, mkdir. Let's call it GitHub. And then I will move to this folder, cd GitHub. So I'll simply open this. I'll go to desktop, GitHub. I opened this. Now you are inside this particular folder. If you see, this is right now a folder only. Now the difference between a folder and a GitHub repository is that, or a repository is that a repository track changes to your files. A folder does not track changes. So let me repeat this once again. A folder is a normal folder, like this GitHub folder that we created. It is a normal folder. Whatever work you do inside it, you will not be able to track changes to that. So when you install Git to your local and when you install Git inside this folder, now this folder will become a repository. So what does it mean? It will start tracking changes to your folder. So now I need to understand how can I download Git. As I mentioned, Git is a software which you need to download from internet. So let's go to the internet and download Git. So to download Git, simply go to Google, say Git download, and I will see that this is the website Git, right? If you go here, you will see this is the, remember this is Git website. As I mentioned, Git and GitHub are separate parts. So you can simply download from here and it will be installed on your system. So first download, then go installation, complete those installation and Git will be installed. So it's a very simple and easy installation that you need to do. Once the Git is installed, we'll move to VS Code and see how we can create a repository. Now I have downloaded Git on my local system. So I want to check that whether the installation or was successful or not. So what you can do in the terminal, you can write down a command git-version. So if it gives you a result, it means Git is downloaded. If it gives empty or some error, it means Git is not downloaded. So I see that Git is downloaded. It shows me a version Git 2.39.5, right? So it means Git is installed. Okay. So remember, I told you that this GitHub is a folder only right now. It is not a repository. So to convert this Git folder into a repository, what you need to do, you need to use a command git init. So what will you do? I will write down a command git init. So it means initialize a repository inside this. So the moment I press enter, it will say initialize empty Git repository in this particular. So in this particular folder, a .git folder will be created, which is hidden, which I cannot see right now, right? It will be created and now I will be able to track changes. So let's go towards that. So after initializing the repository, I will create a file inside this folder. So let's create my first, let's say Python file. So I will call it main.py. Okay. So this is one of my Python files which is there, and I will try to write code to this. Now remember, this is my first Python code. So let me also create a readme file to show you how it is going to be, readme.md. So what is it going to be? Now today is day 0 of my project. Okay. So on day 0, my project is empty, assume. So I just created two files in that, main.py and readme.md, and I simply want to create a checkpoint. So to create a checkpoint, what we need to do, we have added few things, right? So we need to log these changes. So what we use a command git add dot. So what it does, that whatever changes you have done since your last commit, okay, it will add those changes. So git add dot means add all the files from here. So simply enter this and all the files will be tracked. Now if you do git stat, there's a command called as git status. It will show you that okay, these files, you worked on these particular files which you have added. Now you want to commit them. Remember, right now I have only tracked them, so I have not committed them. So what do I need to do now? I simply need to git commit. So what is a commit? Means creating your first checkpoint, right? So this was my day 0. So I will use a command git commit m. M means message, and at every commit I will give a message. So I can give a message that day 0. Okay, so that I can track this, that okay, at day 0 my project looked like this. So I have committed my changes. Now this is my day 0. Okay, now what do I do? On the next day, I came here and let's say I create a function. I'll say created first function. So I'll create a simple first function. Let's simply create def sum a comma b, and I will simply say return a plus b. So let's say this is my first function. So I'll mention created my sum function. Okay. So on first day I created my sum function. So what do I need to do? I made change. So from what is my latest commit? Latest commit is this one. And I have made some changes here. So what I need to do, I need to log those changes. So to log them, I need to say git add. So when I say git add, whatever changes I have done after day 0 will be added together. And now I will commit them. I'll say git commit m, and I'll add a message of day 2. So now what happened? My day 2 has been logged. Now simply I can add more change. Let me add a couple of more days here. So I will say, okay, day 2, I created multiplication function. On day 2 I created this. So I will go to my main.py. I'll come here, create another function, def product a comma b, and I will simply return a into b. Okay, so this is my day 2 where I've created a function. I saved these changes. Now what is my latest commit? This is my latest commit, day 1. So whatever changes I've done on day 2 are still not logged yet. So I need to log them. So how will I log them? I'll say git add, and I will say git commit m, and say simply product, or you can simply say day. So previous was day 2. Okay, so by mistake I previous added to day 2, so I can call this day 3, or I will say or product, right? So something like this I will say. So now if you see, over the time I have made 3 commits to my project. So how can I view all the commits from the start? So there is a command known as git log. So what does git log do? It will show you all the commits from the start. So once you enter this, you will see that this particular thing I created at the start. Okay, this was my first committed day 0. Remember, I forgot to add day 1 here. So at this particular time, this commit was made by the person. This is my email ID. Okay, and this particular changes were done by me. On day 2, I added my second commit, right? So this is what I added, and on day 3 I added these. Okay, so this is how you can navigate through different changes. Now suppose I want to go back to, so these ID, if you see, these are the unique IDs of different commits. Suppose I want to go back to day 0 and check what my project looked like on day 0. So there is a command. I will say git checkout, and I will simply copy this particular ID. So it will take me to day 0. So clearly focus on this. Right now you see all these day 0, 1, 2, right? And you see all this. But the moment I'll put an enter, all this will disappear, because at day 0 my project was empty. Okay, so if you see, automatically my project got empty, and I moved to the day 0. At day 0 my project looked like this. So this is how you basically navigate inside your commits. Or like you can, let's say you've created 50 commits, you can navigate between them by using this method called as git checkout. Okay, so this is how it is done. Now to come back to your original, let's say most latest commit, you can simply use this command git branch, or you can say git branch, or sorry, git checkout, and you can write this word main. So it will take you to the main branch at the top, right? So now if you see git log, you will be able to see all these particular changes. So now we are at the most latest thing. So this is how Git works. Now I have explained this in more detail in the Git course that I conducted. It's a 9-hour long Git course in which I have explained each of these methods in very detail. So you can check that out as well. Now our main target is to push these changes to GitHub. Now that is very important, because all these files are in my local folder right now. And if I go and see my GitHub, there is no changes. My GitHub folder, my GitHub repository is still empty. So if you come and see here, my GitHub repository is totally empty. No changes have been pushed here, right? So now we will try to understand how we can push those changes to GitHub from my local folder. So now I need to see how can I push these changes from my local to GitHub. Now, first of all, what you need to do, you need to set up a connection from your local system to remote so that you can transfer the file. So think like this. Suppose you have to transfer a file from one location to another location. You need to have a connection. The connection could be a radio connection. It could be a wired connection, right? So we need to set up a connection, or you can say a link between my local system and the GitHub, so that I can smoothly transfer the files from my local to GitHub, or I can simply download from GitHub to my local as well. So to do that, you need to set up a connection which is called as git remote. So this command is used. So before moving to your code from your local system to your GitHub repository, first you need to create a remote connection. Okay, remote connection means from local to remote. So you will say git remote add. Now this is the command git remote add. After that, you need to add the URL of the GitHub repository that you have created. So from where will you get that URL? If you remember at the start of the video, I told you to remember this URL because we will be using that. Now this particular URL will be used to set up the connection between your local system and your GitHub repository. So I will simply copy this URL from here. Now we made this name git remote add. Okay. After this, we want to name this connection something. Think like this, your local system will be connected to multiple repositories, right? There can be hundreds of repositories. So you don't want to identify by a link. You want to give a name to it. So I can give it a name origin. Okay. This name could be anything. You can give it a name ABC, DEF, my first connection, whatever. So, but I'm just giving it a name by default because people use origin. So I'm using origin. So git remote add is the command. And origin is the name of the connection. Remember, this is something that you can change. After this name, you will paste that URL which I told. So you'll simply paste that URL here. Now the work is not done yet because you need to authenticate yourself as well, that the user who is pushing the changes is you only. So you have to go from here to here. In front of this github.com, you need to add the username of your GitHub repository. So what will you do? You will come here at your GitHub repository and you will check your GitHub username. My GitHub username is 𝗤𝗫𝗁090401. So I need to take this name and I need to put that in that command. So let's copy this name 𝗤𝗫𝗁090401 and let's move to VS Code. So I am at the VS Code now. So I will simply add 𝗤𝗫𝗁090401. Okay, this is the username, and after that you need to add this add. So this is git remote add, the name of the connection, the link of the connection, and before GitHub you need to add your username of your GitHub and put an add here. Once you are done with it, you can simply put an enter and you will see the connection is set up. If you type a command git remote, and it will give you that origin, and if you want to see git remote v, it will show you all the connections you have. Right now I have this origin. So fetch means you want to download, you can download something. So if you take download from origin, you will use the fetch command and you can download it from this link. And if you push, basically you want to push the code from your local machine to your GitHub repository, so you will use origin name as well. So these are the two links that are created. Even now, so my code has not been pushed, but my link has been created from my local system to GitHub repository. So now only one command is left, which is git push. So what does it mean? Git push means I want to push my whatever commits, whatever files I have, I want to push them from my local to GitHub. After that, remember, you have to give it a name. So this is the name origin. Okay, so git push origin, this that you want to push whatever changes are present here to this origin. Now your GitHub repository has a lot of branches as well. Again, I'm not covering the branches in this video, but by default, all the things that you do, they are present in the main branch, but you can create multiple branches. So you need to provide a branch name as well. So by default, all the things that you do, they go into the main branch. So you have to mention the branch name as well. Okay, so you will say git push origin main. So git push is the command, origin is the connection name, and main is which branch you're going to push. So now I'm going to press enter and see if my code is going to my GitHub repository or not. So if you see, it didn't go because directly, remember this, your GitHub repository link is a public URL. So everyone, you don't want everyone to push the changes from their system to your GitHub repository. So a person needs to have a password to your GitHub repository, and so how to get this password is something that we are going to see now. Okay, so this is something you need to set up at the first when you are pushing your changes to your GitHub for the first time. So let's see how you can get this password. Remember, this is not your GitHub password. This is called a user access token or PAT, personal access token, which we are going to create. So to do that, let's go to GitHub. So if you come to GitHub now, you will see we need to generate a PAT, that is personal access token. So you need to go on the profile, and here you will see an option of settings. In the settings, you simply need to go to the last option, that is developer settings. In the developer settings, you need to click on the last option, personal access token, that is called as PAT. Okay, you click on this and you will click on tokens classic. So there is right now there is no token created. So you need to create a token which is a password. So I'll say create a new token which is the classic. So I will say my first token. Okay, you'll simply name it and you can choose any expiration date. I am choosing 30 days from now, but you can choose it anyway. Now you want to use this for what all things. So there are a lot of things that you can do in GitHub. Now I'm not going to all of them. So you need to simply check this repo. Okay, and maybe you can click on, okay, yeah, I think repo is fine for now to push the changes. And I'm just checking it if anything else is required. I don't think, yeah, all we are good, we're good. So now simply click on generate token. Now once you generate token, you will see that this password is created. Now you need to store this because you will not be able to access it again and again. So I'll simply copy it, and remember now we have to paste this in the password section that we were seeing in the VS Code. So I've copied it. Now I'm going to VS Code. So in the VS Code, now at this password section, I will simply paste the password that I got from there. I'll put an enter, and if you see, the moment I put an enter, all my changes have been pushed to GitHub. So now let's go and see whether all these files are present in my GitHub or not. So I'm present at this right now. Now let's go to the home and check if, so this was my repository that I created. And if you see, all my changes have been pushed to GitHub, right? I didn't upload them manually. I pushed them through my code on my local system. And if you see, all these files are there. This is the name of the commit, and these commits were made 14 minutes ago, right? And all these details are there. Okay, and like this readme file is there. If I click on this, it is there. Main.file where I created the functions, they are present here. Okay, so this is how you push your changes from your local to your GitHub. Now I will do one more activity. I'll show you. Let's make one more change. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to change a name that particular commit something else, and we will push that directly here, and just to revise the concept once again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some changes. Let's add one more function here. I will add, let's say def subtract. I'll say a comma b and return a minus b. Let's say this is the function that I added. I'll say final project, something like this. I have added, right? So remember, this was my last commit. So what I have to do now, I have to log those changes that I have done after that. So I will say git add, and my changes are added. Now I will say git commit m, and this is final project, something like this, the name I will give. Okay, so now commit is done. What I need to do, I need to say git. So I have done git add, git commit. Now after committing, now you have to push to GitHub. So I will say git push origin. Remember, origin is the name of the connection, and main branch which I want to push. So the moment I press enter, now it will not ask for password. Everything will go automatically because password is required only once, and all my changes have been pushed. And then let's go to the GitHub and see whether these changes have been pushed or not. So I'm at my GitHub now. Let me refresh the GitHub link and let's see. So if you see, I have just made changes now only. Final project, it's updated, and if you see this, the third function has come here, right? So this is how you push your changes from your GitHub, from your Git local to your GitHub repository. And this is a very, very important thing which you need to do, whether you are a developer, whether you're an analyst, like for whatever role you're doing inside the teams. When you're working or collaborating with people, everything happens through GitHub, and you cannot upload. Now think like this: if there are 200 files, you cannot go and manually upload everything. You simply go to your code, whatever changes you have done, you git add them, commit them, and push them, right? So these are the three commands which are very, very important. So just to give a summary, we have the first thing that we need to do is, after sign up and creating repo, is git init. Creating a git init will convert a normal folder into a repository. A repository is a folder which tracks changes to your files and whatever it's going inside that. After that, you need to do a git add. So whatever changes you have done, you need to log them. To log them, you need to use the command called as git add. Okay. And after git add, you need to do another command, git commit. I forgot to write here. So git commit is used to basically create those checkpoints. And once I have created those checkpoints, then you need to push them to GitHub, right? So these commands are very important. Git init, git add, and after that you will say git commit. Okay, so these commands are very important. After that, git push. Now after that, git log and git status are those commands which you can check over the time to see where my code is, what type of checkout you want to do. If you want to move to some previous version of your project, then you can do that, right? Remote is the name of refers to GitHub. Local refers to your computer, right? So this is all the whole setup about. These are the major commands that you need to know. I don't think you need to know anything apart from this for basic day-to-day work. As I mentioned, Git and GitHub are very advanced concepts. There are a lot of things that you can learn in them, but these things you do on a regular basis, and 90% of the tasks revolve around these only. So you should be very hands-on with using these while doing assignment projects, your own thing, or maybe working in a company or whatever things are required, right? So that's it from my end. Hope I was able to explain you this process from scratch to end. Please try this thing yourself and let me know in comments how do you feel it. If you face an issue, please let me know that as well. I will try to reply as well. And thanks for watching this video. I will come out with next tutorial also very soon. Please subscribe to DataSense if you have not, and have a good day.